Welcome back, friends. You're listening to episode number 55. Today's episode is fire. I get to talk to Wendy Brick of Brickleigh Virtual Solutions about how to transition to an online business after you've worked so incredibly hard for years to obtain your career. Wendy is a previous nurse practitioner who changed her career path after having her daughter. Going back to work was such a struggle, and she realized she wanted the ability to have more time and flexibility for her baby and family. She started an online business helping entrepreneurs with their social media presence and brand exposure. Her business quickly evolved into helping entrepreneurs gain visibility, grow their authority, and expand their brand's reach, which increases their fans and paying clients. Wendy and I discuss how important it is to live with audacity when growing your business, because when you show up as your most authentic self, you can't help but bring the right people to you. One of the things we touched on was when we're starting out, brand new in business, we don't typically know what our niche or who our ideal client is. We discuss the strategy you can use when you're starting out in order to narrow this down and start making major headway in your business faster. Are you ready? Let's dive in. You're listening to the Live with Audacity podcast. I'm your host, Melissa Stewart. Audacity is defined by Merriam-Webster as intrepid boldness or disregard for normal constraints. And that's exactly what we have here. The Live with Audacity podcast is aimed at giving you the courage to explore your someday dreams, do things your way, and start making things happen in your life right now. I'm a mama to 4 kiddos ranging from college student to kindergartner, wife to a high school football and track coach, and a multi-passionate entrepreneur. Together with my guests, we're going to teach you how to live with audacity and intentionality, discover and utilize your unique skills and talents, and step into who you are meant to be in order to make your someday dreams a reality. Are you ready? Here we go. Hey everyone, thank you so much for tuning back into the Live with Audacity podcast. I'm your host, Melissa Stewart, and today I get to speak with Wendy Brick of Brickleigh Virtual Solutions. I'm so excited about this conversation today because Wendy is going to tell us how she went from nurse practitioner to virtual solutions manager and coach and all the things. But real quick, Wendy, first of all, welcome to the show.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be here.
I'm excited to have you, and I just can't wait to dig into this story and learn more about it. Tell us a little bit about how the heck you went from nurse practitioner to doing what you do now and creating this business.
Yeah, so I get this question all the time with potential clients and other people who are just interested in my story that see me on social media or in Facebook groups, anything like that. And so many people are like, this is completely opposite. What you're doing now is you're helping people with all types of things, getting their brand out there and helping them get exposure and how to run their social media. And how did you get here from the healthcare field? So what I was doing before is I was a nurse, and I had always kind of dreamed of being a doctor as a child, and that was always my goal. So I wanted to continue my education. And so I went back for my master's and became a nurse practitioner. I worked in a unit in the emergency department as one of the only providers overnight in this unit. And it was very stressful, and the hours were 12-hour shifts overnight. And it was just a lot. And I had a baby. And that kind of completely changed my outlook on everything. And even the weird thing and the crazy thing is even while I was on maternity leave, I never anticipated not working outside of my home ever, even when I was on maternity leave. And I knew I was sad, and I was dreading when I had to go back to work. But I just thought, it'll get better. I'll make things work. And actually, when I went back, it was so hard for me, honestly. People kept saying, "Oh, it gets easier. Just give it time. It will get better. She's with family and friends, so just know that she's with someone you know, love and trust, and who loves her." But it honestly, it just never got better. And month after month, the weeks just were so slow, and I was miserable and missing my baby. I was spending like um, 50 to 60 hours a week with commute and overtime and all of that away from home. And so I only had like an hour a day of like really good like playtime while she was awake. Otherwise, it was kind of, I was gone
Uh-huh.
before. Yeah, I left before she woke up. I got home. It was kind of dinner, play for a quick hour or so, and then it was bath and bed and do it all over again the next day. So
Literally just said this to somebody on my last call an hour ago. Like I went through the same thing and it was horrid. So go ahead. I'm sorry.
yeah, no, so many people are like, I can totally relate. And it just really pushed me to see what else was out there. And it was really hard for me because I had gone to school for almost 8 years for this degree, and I spent so much time and money and effort. And I had thought this was what I wanted to do since I was like 5 years old. And
Yeah.
it was so hard for me to accept that and to also I was so afraid, are my parents going to be disappointed that I finished this degree, 2-3 years ago, and I'm already like, okay, I'm going to do something completely different. Like I was just so afraid. Like, what is everybody else going to think? Are they going to be upset with me or not understand why I'm doing this? So
Right.
it was really hard for me to make that decision to completely leave that field.
So how did they respond when when you made the decision and you started telling people? How did they respond?
At first, it was kind of gradual. So I had actually found a course online. I took a course and learned how to be a virtual assistant. That's kind of how everything started because I wanted to find something where I could still work, because my family, my household still depended on my income, but I wanted more time with her, and I didn't know what that meant or what that would look like, but I was going to find it.
Yeah.
And so that's actually how I got started. And it was very gradual. I took this course. At the beginning, balanced my new business and my full time job and everything else at home with the baby. And it was very tough at first. And I think everyone thought it was just like maybe a temporary side hustle phase thing that I was going through and that I would, it would fizzle out. But I wanted this more than anything. I wanted to be with my daughter so, so bad. And I have never been so driven. I mean, when I got my master's, I was studying all the time and a straight A student, and I was driven for that. But it's no comparison to how I felt, the drive to be able to have that freedom and to be with my daughter.
Yeah. Oh man, so good. So you took the VA class and
Mhm.
then kind of walk us through like you took the class, you were kind of in that transition. How did the transition go? What did you realize when you actually left your career to do this? Like to kind of take us through that transition, because I know there's someone out there that is feeling the same way, right? And they're like, oh my gosh, how can I do this? How can I, show up better for my family? And so yeah, walk us through that transition so that we can kind of put ourselves in those shoes and know that it's possible.
Yeah, totally. So if I'm being completely honest, it was very tough at the beginning. I was working so many hours. I had a 2 hour commute to work, some days depending on traffic and when I got out of work. And so I was gone most of the day. And I would literally get up at 4 o'clock in the morning in order to put myself out there and network and talk to people and try to gain more clients. And I would work after the baby went to sleep, and I would most days only get 3 or 4 hours of sleep. So
Oh my
it was,
God, you were killing it.
I. I, I I
And
mean it when I
yourself.
say yeah, I mean it when I say like I was determined to do this and to make this work. And I just slowly, it makes sense for what I teach now and kind of how my business has evolved from where it started. But I continued talk about my story and put myself out there and explain what I'm doing and how I can help and talk to people, and really got myself and my business that visibility. And I gained clients very quickly, and I was able to quit my job within a few months, actually. And we had talked about like, what did your family think then? And my parents, my mom was like supportive, but I could tell that she was kind of scared
Yeah.
for me at the same time.
Well,
But
thank goodness she was on the surface, she was supportive because I know that even that sometimes is hard for people.
yeah, like I said, I definitely could tell that she was afraid, but I also know that I made it very clear how driven I was. And I think ultimately they're very proud of me now, and
Of
how,
course.
how I have really spun this around and have kind of, it wasn't just something that I had an idea, like I have truly made it happen. And it's funny because I wanted to be a doctor my whole life, and my passion was I just want to help others. I just want to help others. And I'm still doing that now. I still have clients. I'm still making a difference in people's businesses, which makes a difference in their lives. And I love that I'm still making an impact for people, just in a different way
Yeah.
now.
I love that you said that too, because here's the deal. We were all made with unique gifts and talents to serve others. Like that is literally our purpose on this planet is to serve others and help them, right? But we all have our own stuff and our own characteristics and skills and dreams and all of these things inside of us, and we were given those, and those were put on us and put inside of us for our purpose, right? So I love
Totally.
that you said, I'm still helping people, because yes, that's the whole point, right? um
Definitely.
so tell me how did you get really visible? Like, what were your steps? What did you do? How can others who are facing kind of the same situation, who are, by the way, super determined, um, uh, how did you become really visible and grow your business like that?
Yeah, so I just really took the time to look at my social media. Social media is so important. Everybody is on at least one platform. It seems like everybody knows what Facebook and Instagram is, of all age groups. And I knew that that is where I had to start. So I optimized my social media accounts. I made sure to talk about what I was doing, and I showed up in groups where I could connect with people who kind of were on the same page as me, or other entrepreneurs who are looking for help and looking to just connect and share their stories and advice and tips. And I just talked to people. I wasn't afraid to just talk about who I was and how I wanted to help others. And I just continued to show up and make those connections. And I was just getting seen more and more. And because of how I have optimized social media and made sure to show up and also provide value to people, not just like buy for me or sign up with me or anything like that, but I truly try to provide value and help others
Yeah.
while I'm getting that visibility and exposure for myself. And I think that makes a huge difference. Um, and that's really, it has turned into more so of people reaching out to me and people referring me, because took that time to truly build and make connections with others.
Yeah, I love that so much. And so uh, man, my brain's all over the place. Okay, so that's exactly what I teach people too, is show up how you like to be showed up for, right? But
Exactly.
also in the ways that that excite you and make you happy and all these things. I was having a conversation with a friend the other day, and she was like, I really need to, start posting in groups about the value I can provide, but she doesn't want to do that. And I'm like, then don't do that. Stop that. You know what I mean? Like, you have to do the thing that makes you feel really, really good. How did you figure out that the things you were doing were the right things? Like, as far as how did you figure out that those were the things that you liked doing?
So honestly, at the beginning, I was fresh out of this course and I really wasn't sure like what am I really good at or what I am going to focus for sure on this. I really didn't know. It was a lot of trial and error and working with people and truly finding what I was good at and what I was most passionate about. So many people say or ask, what should be my niche or what should I focus on? And I always say that you should get out there a little bit and get some experience and really learn if you're unsure which path is best for you. So I wasn't I did not start my journey as I for sure am going to focus on helping people with visibility and exposure and helping them with their social media and helping them to pitch the media. I didn't even, that wasn't on my radar at all. And it had really turned into that as I had one client that needed this and I, did my research and just figured things out on my own as I slowly
Yeah.
went. And it turned into finding that so many of my clients want to pitch the media and want to get on radio and TV and podcasts and magazines or guest blogs, and they don't have time to research who is relevant to them and their brand and their business or how to write a pitch or have time to follow up with pitches. And they're ready to either take that next step with their business and to do that, but they either don't want to do that for themselves or they don't have time to do that for themselves. And I just found that so many of my clients were looking for the same thing, and it slowly just turned in and evolved into me just taking over as the person who helps get them visible and get them the exposure, whether that be to book opportunities and or to help them with their social media and how to really talk to their audience.
I love that so much because we don't always know where our business is going to take us when we first start out. We have an idea sometimes and we kind of know the direction that we're headed in. But the more we learn and the more we try things, we learn what we don't like and we learn what we do like. And you realize too what you're actually really good at too, right? So, you realize that you were good at um, gaining visibility for yourself and your clients, obviously for yourself, because that's why you have a bunch of clients. um, but I love that you were like, duh, I'm so good at this and I like doing it. So of course, this is kind of how I want to structure this and pivot to. I think that's so incredible. What are some tips that you have for us if we do want to start pitching ourselves?
So I think it's really important, and I always teach this to others who are interested in learning how to pitch themselves or to get more exposure. I always Step one is to know who your ideal client is, because when you know who your ideal client is, you know what they're looking for, you know how you can help them, and you can speak to them better and make that connection. So I always recommend, instead of just finding whatever magazine or newspaper list that you have, or maybe you're looking to get on more podcasts, instead of just searching podcasts and finding whatever contact information you come across and pitching to those, find the podcasts or the brands or the businesses that are truly relevant to your brand and your business and what you offer, and make that connection. Look into, if it's podcasts, look into what is their message? What do they teach people? What does their community show up every episode to hear or learn about? And truly listen to their episodes and find something that they say or they talk about that connects with you, and use that in your pitch, because when people feel that connection, it's so much more likely for them to book that opportunity than if they think that you're using the same generic email for the next 200 people that you're also pitching.
Right. Yeah, I love that. And so, if we find a podcast that we really enjoy or think that we would be a great fit for, is there usually like an application on the podcast website or anything like that? Would you suggest, if there is, typically, I would assume that there is, but you can tell me. If there is, would it be better to fill out the application or send a direct email to be more personal? more personable.
So, this is another thing. Do your research because every podcast is different. So, I have seen some podcasts to where they have a form and they say, we won't take pitches that come via email or via phone call or via Instagram message. We only take considerations if you fill out this form. Some podcasts will say we don't accept guests. It's by invite only. Some podcasts don't have any interview style on their podcast. They don't interview
Right.
anyone. So really do your research because some of them will even tell you if you are pitching, this is what we want to know. And that way you know exactly what to say in your pitch. So really look at their website, see what they're looking for before you send that pitch or the email or the form. Just really do your research first.
That's so good. So good. Okay. Any other things that we should know about gaining visibility?
Um, there's so much to know, but I think to just really, like I said, know who your ideal client is. Don't be afraid to put yourself out there. Don't be afraid to, with what people will think. For me, when I first started, I could talk to strangers and I wasn't afraid of what strangers thought of me. It was what are my personal close friends and family going to think when they see my personal social media pages and what I'm
Yep.
doing. And you can't be afraid of that. And once you push past those, things truly start to open up and start moving for you and shifting. And uh, just that willingness to really put yourself out there, talk to people, and know who your ideal client is, know who you're talking to, and don't be afraid to just ask and talk to people. And if you're afraid of pitching or of being told no, there's always going to be a no, but there's also so many opportunities for there to be a yes. And so I always say it's worth it to send a pitch, especially if it's an email or something like that. It's likely they don't know who you are, they don't know what you look like. And if they're not interested, they can simply not reply. So just think about it in that way. You are going to hear no's, but there are so many possibilities for yeses.
I love that. It's so
Thank
great.
you.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. You have to, especially in entrepreneurship, right? It can be really hard for us to step out of our head and out of our own way and really gain that confidence to speak up and, pitch ourselves and sell ourselves. Sometimes it can feel really icky.
Mhm.
Um so if someone is feeling like it's like they're being inauthentic, do you have any tips for them to try or to look at to figure out how they can be more authentic so that they can have more confidence in showing up and pitching themselves?
Going back to doing your research and making that connection, when you pitch yourself as when you can pick out something that they say or their message or a particular episode that really resonated with you and connect with what they said with what you do in your story. When you make a true connection and you talk about that in your pitch, I don't think that's being inauthentic or unauthentic at all. And it helps so much when people are looking for podcast guests. And I think that when you write a generic pitch that just says, I want to be a podcast guest and this is my name and this is my business and let me know if you're interested, that maybe could come off as somebody's like, not so much. But when you take the time to explain who you are and why you care and what you can offer their community, and a little bit of your story, I think it makes such a huge difference.
Yeah, I totally agree, right? And also people that you're pitching to want to know that you've checked them out and that you might actually be a real fan of theirs. Stroking the ego I don't think is ever really a bad thing. Of course you don't want to be inauthentic about it and just, say things that you don't actually believe, but people also want to know um that you vibe with them and that you connect with them and you get them. And I think, like you said, that helps make that connection between the two of you. And then the interview is just so much better, right?
Totally. And I always tell my clients or people who are afraid to pitch certain podcasts, maybe they're afraid to pitch a podcast with a ton of viewers or somebody who has millions of fans on Instagram. Um, People are always afraid of what to say. Or say that I don't have enough followers, they'll never accept me. But when you show them that authenticity and when you can relate to them, a good podcast host is really going to want to bring somebody on that can provide true value and connection to their community and to their listeners. And when you can talk to them about that, I think it makes a huge difference.
100%. Yes, I completely agree with that. Especially, being a podcast host myself. Yes, when I know that your message would really be, what's the word I'm looking for? Resonate with my listeners, then 100%. Those are the type of people that I want on, regardless of who your followers are and how big your platform is and things like that. So I completely agree. Tell us some other ways that we might be able to gain visibility other than podcasts, pitching and things like that. Is there a way to go about pitching the media or pitching, video or blog posts or things like that? I actually don't really know much about it, so I'm genuinely asking.
Yeah. So I help my clients pitch a ton of different media platforms, different ideas. I have helped people pitch to local TV and radio, newspapers, magazines, blogs. There's so many different options. Blogs are huge still, and there are millions and millions of blogs out there, and so many blogs are always looking for guest writers or guest stories or ideas, and it's a great way to talk about you and your story and what you're doing for your community or who you're servicing. So it's not just social media, it's not just podcasts. There are so many opportunities out there. Like I said, I've pitched, helped clients pitch to be on local TV for their local news.
That's so cool.
There's so many different things that you can do for visibility outside of social media and podcasts. And I love podcasts because it's a quickly growing platform, and so many people are looking to listen to podcasts for entertainment and to learn and for motivation. And it is a great way to put yourself out there, but people still look at all of the other media outlets as well, and you don't want to forget about those. So, and you can go along about pitching the same way. There's contact information. Do your research. Look at their websites. Tons and tons of blogs and brands and businesses will tell you exactly what they're looking for. Lots of times they have a whole PR section of how to
Yeah.
pitch and who to pitch to. So just really do your research.
I love it. Yes, this is so valuable. And I know that my listeners are going to be overwhelmed with information, and it's so good.
Awesome.
Let's see. How can we? Oh, here's what I want to ask. To me, it seems like trying to pitch myself to a lot of different places and different forms of media would be really overwhelming. Do you
Mhm.
have any tips for us to either help us not be overwhelmed or what to look for when we're seeking help with this type of thing?
Yeah, so break it up and stay organized. Get yourself a spreadsheet. And if you are looking to pitch to different media platforms, break it up from podcasts to TV to radio, magazines, blogs. Keep your contacts organized so you know who you pitch to. You don't want to continue pitching to the same
Right.
podcast several times over and over, not realizing that you've already done that. So make sure that you are keeping track of who you're pitching to, who you're talking to, who you're networking with, and set reminders up in your calendar. If they say that they're going to follow up in 2 weeks, and they forget to, that happens all the time. Just set reminders for yourself of when to follow up. But the key is just to stay organized, pay attention to who you've already reached out to, and break it up into categories so it doesn't get too overwhelming. And if you need to start with podcasts, and then after you've pitched your top podcast that you would like to be on, and then you want to move on to blogs, then focus there. You can always break it up to make it more simple, and so you don't get overwhelmed.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, what is one thing you wish you would have had the courage to do sooner, in your business or in your life?
I would say I wish I had the courage to think outside the box as far as getting out of healthcare after going back to work after having my baby. So, like I mentioned, I just thought when I was on maternity leave, like I had no other options. This was my career and this was my life, and it would get better. And I spent months and weeks just miserable thinking that I was stuck and that I had made my choice and I had tried so hard and spent so much time and money to get this degree, and this is what it was, and there wasn't anything else. And I wish that I had truly done my research and started that journey of being okay with leaving that chapter of my life behind, because it was hard for me to make that decision. But I wish I wouldn't have fought myself so long and stayed so miserable. I wish I would have just said, this is okay, um, that you're closing this chapter and that you're ready to move on so you can be happier, because ultimately nothing was more important than me wanting more time with my daughter. And I wish I would have pushed past that sooner.
Yeah. No, I love that so much. Oftentimes we get ourselves stuck in those situations too, right? Where we're like, but I've already spent all this money and I have to make this work and blah, blah, blah. And we waste all this time and energy of being like, nope, this is just how it is. Nope, this is just how it is. But we hold the keys to our happiness, right? And we hold the keys to our lives and we can change it at any moment. So I agree. I love that you said that. I hope that this empowers someone to take control of their life and say, I've had enough. I am making a change and this is what I'm going to do. So I love it.
Totally.
Um, so where is there any spot in your business or the transition that you feel like you failed, but you actually it was maybe a stumbling block that you actually ended up learning a ton from?
I would just say, like I had mentioned at the beginning, I felt a lot of pressure to say what it was exactly that I was going to offer for my services, for my clients, and it was definitely a stumbling patch to find not only like what I was good at, what I was most passionate about, but what I enjoyed doing. And I sort of took on different things, and it was kind of a rough patch with finding like, oh, I don't like doing that so much, or I would rather do this. And I would say that that's where I've stumbled the most, is when I was at the beginning and really trying to find out like what is best for me and what can I really use my skills for. And it was hard for me because I kept telling myself like, I know how to treat people and make them better, but I don't know anything about the online world. But I had so many characteristics that I wasn't thinking about, as far as, I was a multitasker, and I was the autonomy, and I worked great on a team, and I was good with computers and tech and different things like that. And I was great at talking to people because I talked to strangers every day, all day. And so stumbling through and struggling with what do I even have to offer? Like, I work in the hospital, and finding like, no, you can do this and this is possible and you do have the skills.
Isn't that so funny how we can take our skills from our career and say, okay, the things that I love about this career are this, this, and this. How can I either rearrange them or adapt them to a different career? And then you end up realizing, like, oh, duh, it's kind of been there all along. I can't believe I didn't see this before. But it's so refreshing and, I don't know, just what's the word I'm looking for? Exciting to be like, oh, now I get it. And it's just so fun for me to see people understand that the characteristics that they have and the qualities that they have actually were, meant for them, and they align perfectly with the purpose that was placed on them. I just think that's so cool.
It's so true. And what you were saying is exactly right. Just because I know how to start IVs and draw blood, and of course I'm not doing that online. However, I love talking to people, and my husband always says that I don't meet a stranger because I can literally talk to anyone, which makes so
Yeah.
much sense that I help people talk about themselves on social media and talk to other people and pitch themselves to talk to other people and talk to other platforms. It just makes perfect sense. But I wouldn't have considered that before because I wasn't thinking along those lines.
Right? It's so cool. It's so cool to watch that transformation.
Right. Thank you.
Thank you so much for being here. It's been so informative, and I have loved all of it.
Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate everything that you do and the whole message. And I love just showing people that anything is possible. And when you are driven and you have an idea, to run with it. So I appreciate you letting me tell my story.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm so happy that you were here to do it. Let's do a quick rapid fire. What is a book, article, person, or talk that's changed your life?
A book. So Lauren Golden, she has a book called The Free Mama, and it was all about how she went from her 9 to 5 and was kind of my exact story almost, where she was miserable. She wanted to be at home. She had a new baby and a growing family, and how she was looking for something else. And it just, when I was starting this journey, it felt like she was telling my exact story. So that really helped me know that I was not alone. This is possible. And it really pushed me forward.
I love it so much. That's so fantastic. Okay, what is your favorite Friday night at home?
Well, given the times that we're in, it's every night. But
Right?
I have so, but we have a little one and she's 18 months old. So we're pretty much always at home, and just the three of us just hanging out. We have our routine. We have our evening shows that she loves to watch. And it's exactly what I signed up for when I started this whole thing. That's what I wanted. I wanted that just every evening. I knew what to expect. I knew what we were going to do. And I'm just soaking it all in. And I continue to soak it all in, just being here all the time.
I love that. It's so fantastic. Okay, what is your next vacation that you're planning with your family?
Again, due to the times that we're in, who knows when we'll be able to travel again. But
Yeah.
we are from the Midwest, and so it is one of my goals. Is I really want to take my daughter to the beach one day. So, whenever we can travel again, or when it's safe to, we would love to take her to the beach.
Well, I am near Houston, so if you come down to the Galveston area, hit me up, girl, because we
Oh,
can meet up and go to the beach together.
sounds like a plan.
What is your best advice to help our listeners live with audacity?
I would just say to truly follow your heart, and don't be afraid to really do what you feel in your heart to do. I really struggled I had this feeling in my heart that this is what I wanted to do. And I let myself be miserable for months because I was afraid. I was afraid to leave my last chapter behind me. So if you have it in your heart and you know you want to do something, don't stop yourself. Anything is possible, and just keep pushing forward because it's so worth it.
Love it. Okay, tell us where people can find you to get more information about what you do and who you serve and all the things.
Yeah, so I'm on Facebook and Instagram. I'm on those two platforms the most as Wendy Brick. I recently just started a Facebook group that I share tips and tricks of, how to optimize your social media and how to write a good pitch and pitching to the media. Because I've had so many questions, I just wanted to put everything in a place where everyone who had a question could talk to each other and hear from me and reach out to me. So that Facebook group, where I show up the most, and where my course will be launching from, is called Valuable Visibility, Get Visible, Gain Clients.
Love it. That's perfect.
Thank you.
Valuable visibility. I love the alliteration. I love it all. That's
Thank
fantastic.
you.
Awesome. This has been so much fun. And I know, again, that people have gained so much knowledge and information about how they can start showing up and being more visible and getting their message out there. So thank you so much for being here. I super appreciate it.
Thank you for allowing me to share my story. I had so much fun, and I appreciate it as well.
Hey, y'all, I had to jump in here real quick because I need a favor. If you are loving the Live with Audacity podcast, I need you to do me a big solid favor and share it with your friends, share it on social media, and go to the Apple iTunes link and click subscribe, rate it, review it. I need to know your feedback, and I want to keep putting this out for you, so I really need your help to get the message out. Thank you so much for your loyalty and your super kind and sweet words. They mean so terribly much to me.